yeah. Maybe you do that because
okay, good. It's recording.
Yeah, yeah, I can
So
see you there.
this, what we're doing right now, this could actually be a podcast. This is where a lot of the magic happens, is the off
I love the way you think. Yeah, absolutely. But it's you know, like you say, always starts and ends with a great song. You know, that's what makes the artists, that's what makes the producers. Everything hinges on that, doesn't it?
What's allowed you to have success in multiple genres? You know, because there's a lot of people that are pretty specific to what it is that they do, and with you and your team, you've had success through multiple genres for multiple years. It's not like, whoo, we got lucky once. You know, you've been able to consistently pull this off. What's the trick with that?
Do you know what I tell all of the people that come to the academy? You've got to diversify in your listening. And I had so many people that I had one guy that said, you know, everything in the charts now is rubbish. And I was like, are you kidding me? I said, what are you listening to? And he was just like, oh, Radio 1, you know, that 10-song playlist or something. I'm going, there's so much great new music out there. And what I get people to do is I say, right, compile 2 playlists on Spotify, one which is inspiration and one which is education. And the inspiration one, go to every different type of genre chart and scroll through them, listen through them, skip the ones where you'd rather stick pins in your eyes, and find the one that you love, put it on your inspiration playlist. If you find something that you don't necessarily love, but you go, oh, that's really interesting what they did there, put it on your education playlist, and keep cycling those. And don't try and copy what's on the playlists, but just by osmosis, these new styles and these new feels and ways of phrasing the lyrics, the melodies, they'll all start just going into your system, rather than just listening to stuff that you listened to when you were 15 and you're stuck in that rut. So right. I listen to everything from classical. I listen to loads of classical music for the movements in it. I listen to country. I listen to rock. I listen to K-pop. I listen to meditation. I listen to heavy rock. I listen to everything. And every time I find something that gives me the rush, then it's like playlist. And that my playlist now is huge for stuff, and in every type of genre. So I can dip in and out of every genre of music because I swim in that river as well as everything else, you know?
Well, I was telling someone too, I have a lot of young people that are in my programs. I said, look, you journal, bring your ideas. I said, we can find someone to help you with the crafting of the song. There are certain elements depending on the style of music that you're in. There are certain, you know, genres that want you to get to the hook right away. There's certain genres that want the hook repeated 30 times in a song. There's other genres that want verse, chorus, bridge. You know, it's like the structure can be taught, but give us those emotions. It's like I told someone, I said, look, if you see something that makes you laugh, write down what it is that made you laugh. Write down everything that comes to your mind. Just brain dump for 5 minutes. If you see something that makes you cry, write down what it made you cry. Brain dump everything you can for 5 minutes. I said, because what we're doing is songs are to capture emotions. If you're in the emotion, you know, it's funny. I'm a huge Prince fan. My all-time favorite artist of all time. I've got about 300 Prince songs on a playlist on my Apple. And I was just going through and I was hearing him do 17 days, just him with piano and a microphone. Now here's this song that I've heard fully produced 100,000 times. And now all of a sudden, here's this one, his version of Nothing Compares to You. It's like great songs are great songs no matter what the production is. Yeah. I heard someone say one time, they said, every great song could be a reggae song.
You know, it's true. It's
dunking guitar, you know.
I work a lot with Chris Neal. He's a producer. He produced Think Twice for Celine. He's produced Cher, Jose Carreras, Michael McKay. He's like massive career. And he said, you know, a great song is a great song. The rest is just window dressing.
Right. That's, you know? Funny.
And you look at Somewhere Over the Rainbow, okay, the biggest selling song, RIAA song of the last century, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. First of all, it's Judy Garland with the Hollywood version, multiple covers, but you've got Eva Cassidy doing the singer-songwriter version. You've got Iz playing it on a ukulele. That would be a great punk song too.
Right.
You know, I can imagine a punk band doing it. I can imagine a reggae version of it, that whole thing, because it's a great tune, beautifully put together, and an amazing lyric that touches people.
So is it one of those things where it's like, so I was sitting there one time and somebody, we were doing this game and they were playing it in all different genres. Like for a long time for Grey's Anatomy, if you wanted to get a song on Grey's Anatomy, be an alternative band and go cut an 80s pop hit in your own unique style. You know, it's like, is it just because they've got great melodies, or is it just what makes that, do you think?
Do you know, for me, it's, well, there was an experiment done where they got members of the public and they played them different pieces of music. And when the listeners got the spine tingle, they measured their hormone count, their blood, and there was an 8% increase in dopamine in the body.
What?
When they got the spine tingle, 8% increase in dopamine, right? Okay, it's whatever creates that spine tingle. It can be absolutely, well, the first thing that people hear is a melody. Okay, right. That's the first thing that the brain registers.
Okay.
It registers that quicker than it registers a lyric, okay, because it doesn't require interpretation. So the melody, you know, if you have an amazing melody, then it's going to get people, no matter what language they're listening in. You know, it doesn't matter. And then if you combine that with a lyric which has got the authenticity to it, that believability, but the relatability for the listener, where they go, oh, yes, I've been through that. You know, writing about the human condition is what we do, whether it be elation, jubilation, complete distress and anger, whatever it is, we write about the human condition. And if you write about it in a way so it's got the real you in it, but other people can just have the real them in it as well, then you're connecting on every single level. And so it's the stars aligning sometimes, you know, where you just manage to nail that whole combination of stuff. So yeah, it's there's no, who knows what it is that really gets people, but it's a combination.
Yeah, I always tell people, I said, you know, people always ask me, they're like, Rick, what's your plan? What's your goal? I said, my goal is to affect 1 million people in the world with songs that I never wrote and songs that I never performed, by teaching people how to get their music in front of the right people. And that's what I love about the internet. That's what I love about it. You know, it's like too often we're trying to force feed people, you know, this stuff because we like it, instead of saying, okay, let's go stop trying to feed hamburgers to vegetarians. Let's go find your audience and make sure that we're feeding them what it is that they want. And that's great. So your academy, that's the one that you guys run right now. It's what, like $200 a year or something like that?
We've got the online academy, which is just online courses, and there's the community there, which is like I think it's around with certain packages around $180.
Yeah, that's
like right. But we've got the UK Academy, which is one that does all of the live courses, the retreats, all of the mentoring program, which so we do a whole bunch of variation of courses and opportunities for people that way as well.
That's amazing. And you guys, so how often is the live stuff that goes on at these UK academies?
Well, every month I do a one-day course in London for sort of 50, 60 people.
Where do you host those?
Right in central London, right near Oxford Circus.
Is there like a facility that you have access to, or?
This wicked basement in a London pub, which is, it's a comedy club in the evenings. So it's very kind of rock and roll place.
Got it.
Called the Phoenix. And so we do the one-day courses there. Every 2 months we do a 3-day boot camp, which is further out in the countryside, and where we basically just remove people from the world and get them there for 3 days and just live, breathe, eat and sleep music, you know. Then we do the 7-day retreats. We do which are out in Andalusia, Spain. We've got the one-day seminars. We do webinars with people all over the world. We've got Sharon Vaughan doing a webinar for us. Sridhar Solanki over in LA, with a bunch of great writers from around the world just sharing their experience, man, you know, because it's, like you say, every writer's got their different methodology, and
sure.
It's like, the more you can just take on board and learn from, the better equipped you are.
So with this group of people that you have, like when we say, you know, Martin's team has written for Jason Derulo and all these guys, how did you meet this group of folks that you have? And London right now. And actually, we're going to let me do this. We'll skip that. We'll get that in a second. I'm going to fill up with water because we're starting in 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, see you in a minute.
Let me just pause this and then I'll keep it going.
Broadcast. Hey everybody, how you doing? We're just gonna wait for everybody to arrive. Okay, people are piling in now. Hey Brian, good to see you, man. Sue, Stephen, Chris, Don, Luca. This is awesome. So yeah, do tell us where you're dialing in from, whereabouts in the world you are, and let's find out what the weather's like where you are as well. I've actually got sunshine in the UK, which is astounding, absolutely amazing. So what have we got? We've got Barcelona, rainy in Barcelona, sunny in Toronto. Sounds like a line to a song. Rainy day in Barcelona. Greetings from the Netherlands, New Columbia, Germany, rain. Yeah, sorry, Luca. Great. We are going to have a lot of fun tonight. I'm so looking forward to this. Oh, more, but grey but bright in London, sunny in Calgary, Canada, Pittsburgh, PA. Fantastic. Cold in Connecticut. There's a song line for you. Yeah, we're going to have so much fun today. I'm so looking forward to it. This is a real pleasure for me. We've got the wonderful Rick Barker with us. Say hi, Rick.
Hello.
Excellent. Hands up, everybody. Say hi to Rick. Give him a big wave. Awesome. So we've got a bunch of questions coming through as well. Rick and I are just going to be kind of shooting the breeze for the next 90 minutes, talking about our experiences in the music business and about songwriting, whatever you guys want to know about. If you've got a question, please put it in the Q&A box, not in the chat window, because the chat window just scrolls past so quickly we're going to miss you. So if you've got a question, please put it into the Q&A box, and we will endeavour to answer everybody's questions tonight, talking about the thing that we love the most, which is music and the music business. Rick and I have recently been chatting and found out that we're very much singing off the same hymn sheet here. And
well, there's a couple people I see here that are mutual clients of both of ours. I see Todd's here and Rich Koski, Todd Sarvis and stuff. So they'll be bored hearing me. They've heard me a lot, but I'm excited to be able to inspire, encourage. You know, I think something that you said earlier, Martin, which really stuck with me, was that it was in the vein of everyone's allowed to dream. And repeat that for those that, you know, may not have heard that before. I just thought that when you were talking about it, whether it be to write a song to sing to your wife on your anniversary or write that song that wins you a Grammy, it's like, it's all a dream.
Do you know, we have so many people coming to the Academy that are all, you know, I've always said people are different, they're on different roads, you know. Some people are right at the beginning and they just want to write their very first song. Some people just want to write a song that gets their parents' approval, God love them. And other people want to write a song that's going to be performed at Madison Square Gardens and, you know, be #1 across the world. And nobody should be discounted from having this dream, whatever it is. You know, there's no room for snobbery in the music business. There just isn't. You don't have to be a 15-year-old girl with half a kit off, or 16-year-old with half a kit off, or, you know, the handsome male model, or any of this stuff. It's like everybody has the right to make music and to make music that they're proud of, and everybody deserves the help that they can get. That's my view on it.
Well, and I also tell people too that no two artists' career paths have ever been the same. And if there were a cookie cutter model, I'd be on the corner selling it, you know, like making a fortune. But yeah, there's not. But I also tell people too, is it's like, sometimes we have to start off realistic. You know, everyone has an audience. My job's to help people determine how big that audience can be. It might just start with you and your mom, and then it expands from there. But it's like, the key is to know where you are and to be realistic in your expectations. You know, a lot of times people will come to me when I sit down with them and I'll say, okay, so what's the goal? They're like, to fill stadiums. I'm like, great. How many shows did you play last year? Well, I haven't started playing yet. Then why don't we restructure that goal for a second? And why don't we start with 10 shows this year and then maybe get to 50 shows the next year? I don't want someone to say, I want to fill stadiums one day. Because when I ask them, they'll say, what's it take to fill stadiums? They said, I need a hit song. I'm like, no, you need an audience, a very large audience to fill a stadium. And unfortunately, most people with just one song can't fill a stadium. It takes multiple songs in order to build up that repertoire to be able to do this. So a lot of times what I find is I find myself balancing folks' expectations.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I really want to make sure that I don't want to be the dream crusher, but I also don't want to blow smoke up your behind either, because there's a lot of people, as we were discussing earlier, Martin, that are willing to do that. They'll sell you a false thing. I had a guy came to me recently, and I had reached out to him the first time. I said, hey, I see you used to be an A&R and doing all this stuff, and you know, I'm always looking to refer people to other opinions and, you know, things like that. But the more I did my investigation, the more this guy talked about in his marketing was he kept using the word famous a lot. And I don't use the word famous at all, because that's not a skill set that can be taught. There's a lot that goes in. You can be famous for the wrong reasons. So he reached out. He's like, hey, I really want to follow up with what we were talking about. I said, yeah. I said, listen, I said, I appreciate that. I said, but the more that I looked at it, the more that I would be sending the wrong message, you know, because I'm not, it's like I tell people, if you want fame, go do a sex tape, could go viral, might get a fragrance, your own reality show, and marry a rapper. You know, it's like, hey, that's all you want is famous. But for those of you that are here, I tell them, if your goal is to affect the world with your music, that I can help with. If your job is to try to find a group of people that you can make a decent living with, depending on what your needs are in order to survive, I can help you with that. If your goal is to be famous, I don't know that formula. I don't know that part of it. You know, I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I think you've got to be in the music business for the right reasons. Personally, you know, I've had a guy that said to me, he said, you know, I just want to know the quickest way to make money from my music. And it was like, wow, it's, you know, really the way I look at it is that if you do a really good job doing what you're doing, the money's going to follow. But using that as the goal, he kind of wasn't interested in the other side of it. And it felt like it was a bit sort of reverse engineering. It's like, do a great job, write amazing songs, write songs that touch people, you know, that change the world, that change people's lives, that they want as a soundtrack to their life. You know, write those songs, make great records, the money will follow. But,
right, exactly.
You know, it's expectations are absolutely key, and being realistic with what we talk about. You know, we've got to be realistic with our training, but at the same time, not being, like you say, not being the dream crushers, because, you know, dreams are achievable, but there's work involved. You know,
well, and that's the thing, is it's like when I tell people about setting goals, I said, we have to set obtainable goals. You can have I think the top thing is the dream. Goals are different than dreams. Yeah, you know, it's like, my dream is to play Madison Square Garden. Great. Then my goal should be to learn how to write the best songs that I can. My goal should be to learn how to perform the best that I can. My goal should be to build an audience. So when I've done all those things, I can achieve my dream of playing Madison Square Garden.
Absolutely. And you know, it's the milestones in between.
Yeah. You need those little victories too. By the way, guys, you need those little victories. And that's something that I learned. You won't have to spend the $2,500 that I spent to go to 5 days to your best year ever with Michael Hyatt. But what Michael talked about is, you know, we have these things in our office we call the big three. These are the three things that need to get accomplished today, no matter what. He says, start with the easiest one first. Most people will make the mistake of starting with the hardest, and it doesn't get done, and you failed that day. There was no success to knocking off your list. Start with the smallest one first, wipe it away, and then go on to the next one. Wipe it away, and then go on to the next one. And that's what happens is it's like a lot of people, and I see some really good questions coming in here, and we'll jump right into these, but it's like having those realistic expectations, making sure that you're not putting the cart before the horse, not getting upset because as soon as you put something out, the whole world doesn't fall in love with it. Realizing that after you've written a song, that's when the writing process begins. It's called the rewrite. The best songwriters in the world write their, Liz Rose, who was big in Taylor's career. She's won Grammys. She's Song of the Year writer. She says she starts the song with a bottle of wine in the evening and writes the song the next morning with a cup of coffee. So she uses the wine to dump everything out on the piece of paper. And then in the morning, she has that cup of coffee and she starts fine-tuning the process, or depending on where you're from, the process. I saw we had some Canadians here. It's really important that you understand that when you're first writing that brain dump, that's not your finished product. And too often with most of you, it is. It's like you don't go in and change anything. You go into the studio, you record a song, and then you come to a guy like me or Martin and said, hey, here's my CD I recorded. Would you listen to it and tell me what you think about it? And my rule, Martin, for me is I don't listen to fully produced songs because there's no way that these kids are going to be able to go in, open up the session, make any of the changes that I suggest that they make. Most of the time I hear very well produced, poorly written songs. And I don't want to crush their hearts, because a lot of them, they don't know what they don't know. So that's why I've devoted myself to educating, devoted myself through my podcast, through my Facebook Lives, through my Instagram Lives, through my stories, through doing things like this with you, is I've devoted my time to say, look, these are the things that need to happen. And if you want to get real deep, I offer a program. Come on in and join me. It's like, for those that I'm right for, here's a place for us to hang out. For those that I'm not right for, here's some information. Use it to the best of your ability, not to get yourself in a pickle. And all we do is share from our own knowledge and experiences. That's it. That's the only thing I can share from. I can't share Martin's knowledge and experience because I don't have it. I don't know it, but I can share Martin with my people. And I think that's vice versa. That's kind of why we're here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And totally amen to the rewrite. On the one-day course, I do a section called the 7 most common mistakes made by songwriters. And I know their mistakes because I've made them all. And they're 7 of the many that I've made along the way. But the first one is settling. Just if you're saying that's good enough is never good enough. You've got to be punching the air. And I put an arbitrary figure on it that 95% of songwriting success is the rewrite.
Oh, I would not doubt that at all.
Yeah, you just got to have the courage to go back in and look at your song and say, can it be made any better? I sometimes talk about this, whenever we write a song, we go, oh, look at our beautiful baby. It's a beautiful baby. but some people never know when they've had an ugly baby, and it's like, you've got to be able to step back from it and go, hold on a minute, is this a really beautiful song? Or is it, can I make it better? And you keep pushing until you get that big dopamine rush, the spine tingle. And
the key with that too is it's not hard to find someone who will tell you that your baby's ugly. What's hard is to find someone who can tell you how to make your baby pretty. That's what I look for. It's like, I used to tell people, they were like, Rick, you don't sit on panels, at these music conferences. I said, no. I said, because what they're going to do is they're going to put me on a panel because I worked with Taylor, because I work with Big Machine, because I'm verified on socials, and we're all going to sit there and talk about the same problems that we already know are the problems. I said, that doesn't serve any purpose. Let me teach, so it's the same thing. It's like, if I'm going to come to you and say, look, this is what I see as the issue, I better come to you with a solution as well, or I'm just lip service. Who gives a crap about my opinion if I do not have a potential solution? And when I coached collegiate soccer and we were playing for national championships, I'm like, guys, we know what the problem is. Come with the potential solution. There's enough in us. We're smart enough. We'll figure something out. So one of the things that I want to tell you today, before I start answering these questions, first, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Martin, for allowing me access to your people. 2 is, this is just one person's opinion, okay? This is just, I'm going to share with you from my experience. I'm going to share with you from things that I've either tested myself or I've tested with other clients. If I do not know the answer to something, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer to something. If I think that Professor Google is a great place to go, I'm not blowing you off. It doesn't do me any good. I need to help guide you to the answers. If I give you every single answer, so certain things I'm going to answer because they're direct questions and they make sense because you're asking my opinion. But if you're asking me to solve something for you, it doesn't do you any good if I solve it for you. I'm going to work with you to go get you and guide you to the answer, because you never want to be dependent on someone. And if it turns out that, wow, I can only get my questions answered if I get access to Rick or Martin, that's not a real good position to be in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you to the answers. I may also come in and ask that, hey, I need to know more. I may pop you up. So if you guys look in the bottom left of your screen right now, you're going to just scroll over the bottom. You're going to see a place where it could say join by audio. I may invite you later in because I need more information to be able to answer it thoroughly. And if you can pop in, I would love for you guys to pop in. So with that being said, you ready to roll up our sleeves and do this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. First question is from Miko Jacola. Martin, Rick, my question for the Q&A. My new band has a great song in our opinion. Say we publish it ourselves in order to gain a good fan base and it becomes popular. Our record label is going to repel that song should we get a record deal. Cheers, Miko.
The answer to that is no. They're actually wanting you to go prove it yourself right now with your resources. What happened is the days of A&R, it used to be that everything had to be kept a secret. The record companies wanted to be the ones to do the grand release. They wanted to be the ones to do everything. Right now, they're looking to see that you can create a buzz on your own dime. They don't have the resources to do that right now. Real good example is a band called Low Cash Cowboys, or Low Cash, not Low Cash Cowboys, just Low Cash. They put out a song called Truck Yeah, and they had it up on YouTube. It was doing really well. People were digging it. Tim McGraw's camp came across it, and Tim says, I want to cut that song. I love that song. And all they did was ask them to pull it down from YouTube. That was it. But they saw the way people were reacting. The best thing you could do right now is to test it. The worst thing you could do right now, honestly, if I'm being super honest, is go out and try to get a record deal with a song. Because once you get a record deal, you're an employee. Your creative freedom a lot of times, and what I mean by freedom, the ability to put things out. But go out, start the buzz on your own. Don't be worried about it. The label knows all you're going to do is create the spark. And even if you create a fire, there's 7 billion people in the world. Let the record company come in and douse that fire for you with gasoline. And that's when they bring their money, their resources, their relationships, their ability to get out and take it to that next level. But no, don't worry about it at all. And the first thing is go make sure that your fans love the song as much as you guys do.
Yeah, I was just going to say my only comment on this was the words in our opinion. It's like get other people's opinions as well. Get other people's opinions in the business. People that you trust, friends and family aren't always going to be completely honest with you because they love you. Sometimes people have got very candid parents, but most of the time they're gonna sort of put a little bit of cotton wool around it. So go out and make sure that song is great. Something
too, and this is kind of looking at behind the scenes. If you post it to your socials and you're getting comments, but you are not getting shares, that's people being nice to you. If they truly believe in something, they're going to share it with their friends. So if you don't see any shares, they're not quite there yet. Take a look at those numbers as well. Don't go by comments and likes and thumbs ups and hearts and all that stuff. Is someone, because that's what Spotify looks at. Are people downloading it to their own playlist, and are they sharing it? Those are the two factors that they're looking at. You should be looking at the same thing when you post to socials.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Fantastic. Let's move on to the second question from Erwin Cruz. Hi, Erwin. Good to see you again. I have a question about promoting your music on a local versus global level. So if you're a singer-songwriter without a record label and would like to start building an engaged fan base, which is the better option to start? Either number one, running a campaign to first promote your music on a local level, run Facebook ads targeting your own city, and then later scale up? Or is it better to do it globally first and cast that wide net then assess which locations have responded to your initial music campaign? It's a great question. So what do you think about that, Rick?
I think that I cast the net wide right away. The reason for that is because the internet's allowed us to do that. Also, too, what it does is it allows you to see who's really buying into your stuff, because you can always cast wide, and then when you are doing a live show, you can run an ad and focus narrow. And it's hard too. Like in Nashville, man, it is really hard to get local people out to do anything. They're so overwhelmed with how much stuff's going on right now. But right now, what I teach in my program is we're doing Facebook Lives. We're doing Instagram Lives. I got a girl right now made almost $200,000 last year doing Facebook Lives, play into the world every day. So if the world is at your fingertips, why not deliver it to the world? So I would use the internet as a way to start building an audience, as a way to start getting better, as a way to find where those pockets of people are that you can ultimately go and tour. But I say cast as wide a net as possible right now. I'll give you guys two real good examples of what the internet did with us. Think about this. Had Adele or Sam Smith not put it out there on the internet on a worldwide scale, would they ever have made it to the United States at that particular time that they were coming out? And I'll explain to you why. Here's what the internet did. The internet doesn't have a filter for sexual preference, for weight, for anything. It's all about the quality of the music, because years ago, there's no way before the internet that a homosexual male writing songs about dudes who was overweight would have ever been allowed had he not put his music out into the world first. And they're like, holy crap, we can't stop this, Sam Smith. This thing is flooding and it's going the way that it's going. Adele never would have been Adele in the old guard, because they would have said, well, her weight's an issue. No, right now, guys, the best songs win. The best performances win no matter what. And that's what I love about this is nobody can tell you no except you. No one. No one can tell you no except you. The people that come to me and go, yeah, Rick, I'm old. I said, no, you're just lazy. You know, the internet doesn't care how old you are. If the song touches someone, they don't sit there and go, man, I really can't like that song because a 55-year-old guy from Germany wrote it. No, if this song makes sense, this song makes sense. So you guys cast your net as wide as you possibly can for as long as they allow us to do it. And then when it comes time, then you'll start bringing it in. Does it make sense?
Yeah. And you know this word local, I mean, before the internet, local was a matter of geography. Yeah. But, you know, somewhere that you could communicate with quickly. Now, you can communicate anywhere on the planet quickly. That's right. So local, I mean, let's look at it universally. You know, local is the planet, and, you know, distant is Mars. You know, it's just a word.
Look at the people that are on this call when you had everybody identify where they're from. We've got 15 different countries represented right here.
I know, right? Exactly. So brilliant. Great question, though. Really good question, and great answer as well. Thank you, Rick.
Let me say hi to Tony real quick. Tony, who's running the Q&A in the chat. Hope all's well, my friend.
Yeah, we love you, Tony. Thanks so much for doing this. So next question from Lound. Hey, Lound, good to see you again. We have a single coming out this month, and we believe it's very good. There we go again. Our current following and social media presence are minimal. Is it possible for the song to succeed in this scenario? We're already planning to post related stuff on Instagram with lots of hashtags, etc. Any tips on what to focus on and what to avoid? So let's look at the main question here. Is it possible for the song to succeed with minimum social media presence, Rick?
No. But first, and I was hoping that this person was over here on the side, you have to define what success means, because everyone's definition of success is different. Basically, right now, what's happening is that you have a single coming out, you believe it's very good, and you're going to ultimately try to get a whole bunch of strangers to believe the same thing that you believe. Let me start by saying this to everyone. You don't release singles anymore. You put out music. Record labels release singles. You don't release singles. You're not a record company. You're not under the same restrictions that they're under. They have certain singles that they need to release at certain times. What you need to do is use as much of your music as possible to go out and build an audience with it first. If you try releasing one song and there's no audience, it could take you months. But if you've got 5 or 6 songs, like when I launched my podcast with 5 episodes, and then I was releasing 2 every week. I had a whole bunch in the pot, because what happens is this. Think about you, for example. When you find a song that you like, are you just go, okay, cool, that's it, I'm done? No, I want to hear more from this band. I want to see more from this band. So let's say that song is very good. You need to build your social platforms up first, so when people go to find you, they don't see that, wow, this is a band that just talks about themselves. Wow, this band hasn't posted in 9 days. It's like you're putting the cart before the horse. So keep writing the music, but don't feel that you have to have this song come out this month. Have that song come out today to start building an audience. But you've got to build the audience with your music first. And then what happens, because here's the news flash, guys, no one ever has to pay for your music again. As of today, I physically do not have to pay for your music in order to listen to it. When I start investing, I'm investing in you. I'm investing in our relationship. So here's one of the strategies that I teach, is that take 4 or 5 songs, acoustic songs, start putting them out on your socials, start playing them live on Instagram Live, start playing them on Facebook Live, bring everybody into the fold with these songs, and then say, listen, I get a chance to go in and record a couple tracks. Which ones are your favorites? Okay, great. Those are my favorites too. So then you go in and they feel like they're a part of this. Then you start showing them videos inside the studio and things like that. Say, you know what? We decided to go ahead and do a whole EP on this. And because you guys were so influential and helping us with the record, we've decided to make you guys executive producers. Here's what an executive producer does. So what we've got is we've got a certificate for you as an executive producer. We've got these cool executive producer t-shirts, and we'll give you an autographed copy of the record when it's done. It's only $40, so on and so forth. So now you just sold this EP for $40 versus for $4.99, which most people won't buy anyway, because you made people a part of the process. You have to bring them in. Use your music as a way to do that, but don't go out and release singles anymore, because you're going to release a single and then you're going to base the success on whether people downloaded it or not. And because you don't have an audience, they're not going to download it. One, because they don't have to download it anymore. So you're going to think that was a failure, and then you're going to go on to the next song. Well, this song never got the chance to stand, to get out there and fully mature for anybody to really see it. So don't do them as singles, because I think you guys will give up on them too fast. And then people come and go, hey, I'm going to my next single. Your music's brand new to somebody every day. Taylor Swift will sell records of her first record. She'll still sell 1,000 copies of that record every single week. You know why? Because more people are coming on every day on the phone that had no clue who the hell Taylor Swift was, and may have heard something else and wanted to go back and buy it. So don't get caught up in this singles thing. Lyric images, yes. Snippets, yes. Maybe even a teaser trailer. Don't tease anymore. It's so hard to get their attention the first time. Beyonce can tease. Jay-Z can tease. Kanye can tease. Taylor can tease. You can't tease. We are day trading for people's attention. We are vying. It's so noisy out there. When you've got them, give them your best stuff. Don't give them snippets. Don't give them your best stuff. And then when they find that, give them the next stuff. Also give them your best stuff.
Yeah, great advice. Love it, love it, love it. Cool. Let's move on to the next question.
I can't answer that question. I have no idea what it means. So it's all you, brother.
Wow. Hey, Martin, can you explain song math or do a full course on it, please? Anthony, I'm not quite sure what you mean by song math. So if you're on here, Anthony, are you on here? If you're on here, then please let me know what song math is. I've never heard of that before. So no.
The better your song, the more money you make.
Yeah, maybe.
Math to count cash.
Yeah, maybe. So next question. Hi, what kind of content this is Mark Miner. Great to see you, Mark. Hi, what kind of content for postings would you recommend for newcomer songwriters that are not artists themselves? I think I bore my followers with a selfie in my home recording studio. I can't post my songs because everyone in business says artists and A&Rs might consider this as already released songs, which, we might have to arm wrestle about this one, Rick. So they wouldn't be interested in them anymore. songwriting is nothing that shows big action, just me, maybe some co-writers, a guitar, a door. I'm thankful for all ideas. So my first question would be, you know, why do you want to post as a songwriter? But what do you think, Rick?
Well, I think first you need to understand that if you're going to go out on social media, it's not about you. That's the first thing. It's you're creating content that you think your consumers would want to consume. Secondly, you're going to use, songwriters will use social media differently. Songwriters will use social media as a way to go out and reach out to potential collaborators. They'll use it to maybe as a way to go out and reach out to publishers if they want to share their music so that other people can see that it's getting traction. I love story behind the song ideas. I love, you know, when you're going into the studio, you got to remember, to strangers, you're right. None of this makes any sense at all. To people that are following your journey, it's very important to them. We take for granted what we do every day because we do it every day. It may not be fascinating to you, but when somebody gets to go in and see what goes on behind the scenes in the studio, that's pretty impressive to somebody who's never been able to go inside the studio. If Martin, as a songwriter, isn't an artist, is going into work, and we'll pretend he lives in an area where he drives a car. So if he gets up this morning and says, you know what, I woke up with this crazy hook and I can't get it out of my head, and I'm excited because I'm getting together with Rick Barker later on today. We're going to write. Actually, when we get there, I'll bring you in, let you check the place out. But I can't wait tonight to share with you what we've come up with. I'm intrigued now. I want to know what the hook was that he woke up with that he can't get out of his head. I want to know who this Rick Barker guy is that he's writing with. And later on, I can't wait to hear the song because Martin's one of my favorite songwriters because I've chosen to follow him. So the key is, you're right. You don't have to bore people with a lot of stuff, but if you build an audience, that's what they want. And the thing is it's not always about you. What I teach in my How to Become a Social Media Ninja in Under an Hour is in the mornings, I like to provide something motivational because I have people that I want to inspire. I have people that I want, that's the start of their day. So I'll do something there. You could have a very positive lyric that's very uplifting that you throw on a real cool image and send that out, and people start sharing that image around there. Then later in the day, as people start to drag around, hell, I'll go find something that's funny that's trending on YouTube. My audience loves dogs, so I'll find something funny with a dog and I'll post it. And then that night I'll go on and play music. Or for me, I'll go on and teach. I'll go do a live Q&A answering questions, but it's about them. It's not about me. So I need to be able to serve them. So, and this thing about the A&Rs, don't worry about the A&Rs. A&Rs aren't out there online, and they're not worried about it anymore. So I don't know who told you that, but that's just my opinion.
Well, this is something where I've got to throw my oar in because, you know, I get briefs coming across from Japan and South Korea, which is, you know, is a massive, massive market. And, you know, at the foot of these emails, when it's like when you're pitching a song for it, they say whatever you're pitching, you have to guarantee us that this has never seen the light of day. And so that's a stipulation on those things. So as a rule,
what is that one?
Well, this is like the Japanese and Korean record labels.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They don't want anything that's had any internet presence whatsoever. They want sort of virgin songs. So
I haven't seen that in the US yet.
Right. Okay. So it's you know, for me, I tend to keep all of my stuff on private SoundCloud pages.
Sure.
And when I want to share stuff with a record label, I don't need to share it with the public. But
well, there's a difference, though, is because your full-time job is not writing for the public. It's writing for these people. Yeah. Most of these folks aren't published writers that are going to get a chance to pitch to major label artists. They're going to have to go out and prove themselves as a songwriter first. So there's different scenarios, but I also think it's different for other things. You know, some people will say, oh, you know, TV and film, they don't want anything that's been released before. I said, I call bullshit on that because almost everything you hear is a remake of a song that's been released before, or it's the original version that's 20 years old. So right. A good song is a good song. But I think for you, if you're writing in that Korean area, there's difference. Most people here, in my opinion, aren't full-time songwriters. If you're trying to build an audience with your music, how can you do that being private?
Yeah. Yeah, it swings and roundabouts here. Come on, let's arm wrestle for it. Come on.
No,
So,
but it's every situation's different.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I said, you don't need to build an audience for yourself by putting music out there, because you've already had the success and people are coming to you for different reasons. If these people are out there trying to show people that their music means stuff, then it's a different thing. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. If you want to just be a songwriter and keep yourself stuff, that's how can a publisher discover you? If they won't take unsolicited material, and if you have no buzz, how are people going to find you?
Yeah, well, then we come on to the whole networking thing and the importance of getting out there. But we'll go off on a tangent if we do that. So let's crack on with the next question here. So next question is from Matt. So, hi, Rick and Martin. I am a songwriter artist. Lately, I've been spontaneously posting on Instagram stuff I'm doing in the studio. I've been posting little clips of songs I'm working on that are not finished yet. Here we go. So, do you think it's a bad idea to post an unreleased work that doesn't have a release date yet? Is it giving away too much? I thought this might be the case because when I have a release date set and get ready to do some pre-release hype, people may have already heard a little bit of the track. What do you think?
I think you're doing it the right way. I think that I don't like the word spontaneously. I'm more of a structured person, because the more often you do something, it's like this. The way you have to look at social media is it's the customer service portal to your business. So if you're not willing to put in an hour a day for the customer service part of your business, then you might want to reconsider the business that you're getting yourself into. I love the snippets. People's attention span's very small right now. When we start building audiences through Facebook ads, I'll start with a 25-second video. Then the next video they see will be a minute. Then the next video they see will be a minute and a half. Usually the first video that I show them of an artist that I'm working with is usually a cover song of something that's familiar to them. I don't think the more people can hear snippets and it's good, the anticipation for the full project, I think, will benefit you by doing it that way. So, Matt, I would stay in that phase because I think, like I said, you're giving them the gist. The only thing you don't want to do is never put out anything that you have to make an excuse for, because you can only be judged by what's out there, not by what's not out there. So people will forgive poor video. Almost every app has a filter to make the video look like crap, but they will not forgive poor audio. So make sure that your audio's spot on. Story behind the song, any kind of stuff where people feel like they're being let in behind the curtain is a good thing. So, Matt, I like the strategy that you're doing. I would just not do it so spontaneously. I would do it a little bit more structured. And we're going to give you guys information. I have a webinar that you guys can check out, a free training that I'll give you guys information to later. But I like where you're going with that, Matt.
Cool. Great stuff. Thank you. So next question is from the wonderful Georgie Cooper. This question is for Rick. You famously told Taylor Swift that if she wanted to sell 500,000 records, she'd need to meet 500,000 people. Does this advice also apply to songwriters, or what should they do differently?
Okay, so all I did was simple math. If you want, a gold record means 500,000 people, 500,000 records sold. And I saw the effect that she had on people. So the joke I made was that we need to go out and meet 500,000 people. Polestar covered that. It's been documented, mine and her journey and things like that. What I saw was an artist that we could use these tools. That tool at the time was called MySpace. So here's the option that we had. We had a young girl without a song yet. To get in front of 500,000 people, the only physical way we could do that was to be out on tour. We didn't have enough success to be touring yet, so I knew that wasn't the case. We didn't have videos yet. We hadn't released a song. I knew that wasn't the case. So we went out and started building this relationship online. When she released her record, October of that year, we sold 500,000 copies in 13 weeks, which became a record. The reason why is we had spent all of our time preparing people for the release of this record. Most people don't know this. She had a platinum record, which meant she had sold 1 million copies before she had a top 20 single. That's what freaked people out, because usually you have to hear it on the radio. It has to become familiar. People will go buy the record. That's their rules. Our rules were, we have this record and we have these tools now. We're going to go tell everybody about this record, and we're not going to keep it a secret. we're going to play these songs even way before the record got released. Now, Georgie, I haven't directly answered your question yet, but I want to make something, this story is something that a lot of people don't know. When she's out with Brad Paisley, we're opening for Brad Paisley, she gets 5 songs. That's all the opening act. It was Brad Paisley, then it was a couple other. Brad and I were sitting, and he says, I have never seen a crowd sing all 5 songs of an opening act when she only has half a hit. And what he meant was she only had a song that, in the traditional way, that's the only song that anyone would have known, is that one song that happened to be on the radio. It was like in the 30s, so he called it half a hit. He said, how did they hear this music? I said, she took her guitar and she played it for him on MySpace. And he just kind of shook his head. And that night, everyone else, we're selling $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 worth of merchandise. They all felt a part of our world because we didn't keep it a secret. So that's why the Taylor 500,000 went into play. Does this advice also apply to a songwriter? No. The answer is no, it doesn't, because Taylor's goal was to sell records. I don't know what your goal is. My advice to her was based on what she told me her goal was. My advice to you, Georgie, would be I'd have to know what it is that your goal is. But if you want to sell 500,000 records, yeah, you need to get 500,000 people. But now you can utilize streams, because streams count for that as well. They went and factored everything because there were no #1 parties happening, and there were no gold record parties happening because it was all off physical sales. Physical sales don't really exist much that anymore. So that isn't the advice that I would give to a songwriter unless I know what your real question is. So if you could pop that down there, we'll get to it, I promise.
Yeah, okay, brilliant stuff. Next question, Tony. This is from Tony. Hi, Tony. So, Rick, do you know of any artists that have followed the path of sync licensing and gained exposure by landing a TV film to launch their artist career? I've been advised that if landing a TV film show, it will create a lot of social exposure and will boost an artist's career. I have a gut feeling that it's better to invest time into this area, and was just wondering what your thoughts are on this.
Okay, so one of my dear friends, Michael Elsner, and he has a course called Master Music Licensing. And I'll make sure that Martin has links to send you to this. So Michael has over 2,000 placements, including a Super Bowl commercial. And we've been hosting workshops in Nashville. I just did a whole where I brought in, I had a traditional country sounding outlaw country guy. I had a 60-plus-year-old instrumentalist who just plays piano. I had a hip-hop producer. I had a Christian artist, and I had a pop artist, and we sat down. And what we've come to realize right now is that what's great about Sync, that's the only place where you get paid on the front end and the back end. Also, too, is that you can take your songs, create alternate mixes. If you've got a catalog of music, that's a great opportunity. The problem is that people are trying to get to the music supervisors because they're the ones who've been made famous by sitting on panels. Actually, guys, it's the music editors who are the ones who choose the music. The music supervisors go and get the license for that, and they're the ones that go and get it cleared. So the key right now is, if you can get landed in a film or television, here's the only part that sucks about that. Not often do they stop the movie and say, hey, and by the way, that was Martin Sutton and his piece, blah, 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 blah. You know, people are going to have to Shazam it. People are going to have to do whatever it is. So I don't know if it will create a lot of social exposure. The social exposure comes when you're able to say, oh my gosh, so excited, my song is featured in blank. So that gives you what's called that social proof. So on its own, it's not going to help. You are going to have to do it yourself. And you can do this without having to hire a publicist. Publicists are very expensive, by the way. Everybody thinks, oh, I'll hire a PR person. You are your own PR person. You can get to more people with your social platforms now than a PR person can get sending out a random email trying to get you exposure. So what I feel right now is, as songwriters, you need to find every available avenue and resource to get your music heard. There's about 500 productions right now out looking for music, and there's about 30 artists that are looking for songs. Where do you have a better shot at getting something over there or getting something here? Also, too, is that, you know, get to these music libraries. You know, do a lot of that stuff. So it's better, once again, it's better to invest time in getting the music right first. So often you guys come out of the gate, you wrote one song, you're like, holy crap, I wrote my song. Now I'm going to go build a career out of it. No, 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 no. I told Martin earlier, Taylor, all she did from 12 to 16 was wrote. She wrote music. So all she did. Right. Get the product right. That's your product. Okay. Everything I'm teaching you about growing your audience doesn't work if your stuff sucks. Let me just go ahead and put that out there right now. Get your songs right first. Why do you think that I brought Martin into my program? Because I was teaching people how to get rid of garbage. And I'm like, crap, it's not working. We didn't get their songs right. I even had to step one step further. I was teaching people once they got their songs right, how to get it out there. But I didn't realize that they didn't know how to register their music properly, so they weren't getting paid. So I had to back it up even further than that. So now it's like, set your business up properly. Register with a PRO. Understand that this person only collects performance. You need this company to collect mechanicals. Oh, wait, there's Song Trust. You know, we are trying to function in a dysfunctional business, and it sucks because there's not just one bank that pays everybody. There's all these different moving parts. So that's where I think right now, get your music to work for you any way that it can. It's like, I got a guy that I met. He loves to play. He loves to write. He was a caddy at the Los Angeles Country Club. Some judge, older dude, married this hot young chick, and he said, hey, we have an anniversary. I would love if could you help me write a song for her? And the guy goes, yeah, just here, tell me a whole bunch of stories. He did this thing. He sold it to him for 30 grand, gave him the copyright, put it in a nice little bow. The judge loved it, told all his friends. Now this guy makes like $400,000 a year doing about 30 songs. You know, he does, I think it was 10 to 15 songs a year. And that supports him going out trying to be a rock star. He hasn't made as much money off his own stuff as he has the stuff that he's written for other people. So there's just so many different ways that you can make money with your music. Film and television, I think, it's the one that's real popular right now, and it's only going to get bigger because of Netflix and Roku and Hulu and all these things. Do me a favor. When you guys get a chance, I want you to listen to your next television show. I want you to just close your eyes with a pad of paper, and every time you hear a musical element in that show, I want you to write a check mark. And you will find that there's usually between 30 to 80 pieces of music in that show. And they're not all from one writer. They're not all from one producer. They're not all from one songwriting team. They're from different people. The key is you have to know how to create the alternate mixes. You need to learn how to metadata properly. You need to learn how to go out and make relationships. The cool part about this is the music libraries, they're the only people out there asking for unsolicited material. Why? Because they need to fill their libraries with music, because there's 80 pieces in every episode. And if someone's doing music for a 10-episode series, dude, that's thousands and thousands of snippets of songs, of 10-second pieces. And I love this part of the business. I've learned so much about it recently, and I've been watching people get their first success going. Holy crap, somebody just sent me a check for 10 grand. I got my first placement. They paid me 10 grand up front. It was all in deal. There's so many different deals that are being worked. This part of the business excites me.
Great. Fantastic. Great answer as well. Great question. So terrific. Let's move on. This is Zoe Walton. How important is having professional material for things like Instagram, e.g. professional photo shoots? For example, professional photo shoots.
Yeah, I think you're representing your brand whenever you put something out there, but you could have something professional that you make right on your computer. I mean, right now it's like, you know, a good guitar vocal you could make. I mean, hell, I watched Graham Cochran record a whole song on an iPhone, you know, in one of his YouTube videos. So yeah, professional. It's just make sure that it's quality. It's like you're not going to do a guitar vocal and try to go get radio airplay with it. They're not going to do that. You're not going to do a guitar vocal that's unmastered and submit it for film and television. They want something that's mastered, that's done the right way. But for Instagram, for social media, by all means, just make sure it's quality and it best represents you. Goes back to what I said earlier. Never put out something you have to make an excuse for.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all about consistency as well, isn't it?
It is.
And you know, you mentioned the brand, you know, making sure it's either on brand or it's everything is either on brand or off brand.
Yeah, and
So,
that's funny because I did a podcast episode yesterday about that. I was presented with an interesting opportunity. Those people that know me know that I'm a huge hip hop fan. I've been a fan of hip hop for a long time. I love the hip hop culture and community because they've always had to hustle. Nothing was ever handed to them. There weren't the same radio opportunities, the performance opportunities. I don't know if it was the same way in the UK, but in the US, there weren't a lot of places that would let hip hop because of what came along with the culture and things like that. So they've always had to hustle. They've always had to be on the street corners selling CDs out of trunks. I mean, subways, you walk by, there were, you know, really going. So there's this Facebook show that's called Hip Hop Live. And they do a live Facebook show. People can send their music in. They play it. The fans pass or blast or whatever they do, and they give a real cool opportunity. So they invited me to be a part of this show. And they're on there critiquing and doing this stuff. And so I'm 27 years sober. So I'm almost 52 years old. I've been sober over half my life. A lot of crazy stuff I did in the 80s. These guys on their show, they're drinking, they're smoking weed, they're doing their whole thing. They're having fun. They're speaking from this is their life. This is what they eat and breathe is hip hop. I just happen to be a fan of hip hop. So inviting Rick on there and having me critique hip hop music, I think doesn't serve their people well, and it doesn't serve my people well. I'm not on brand if I put myself in a room with a bunch of drugs and a bunch of alcohol talking about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not big on the N-word. I don't allow it on certain things that I do. That's what half the songs, they can call themselves that. I haven't met Shorty yet, or Shawty. You know, so a lot of it didn't make sense for my brand. It didn't, and I when I explained to them, I didn't think it made sense for their brand either. I can serve their community in another way. They bring me on in the beginning and say, look, you guys create it. Rick will teach you how to get rid of it. So that's where you always have to make sure, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Martin, is that don't try to be everything to everyone. And that's where I think a lot of songwriters go sometimes. They're like, well, I tried this and it didn't work, so then I'm going to go over here. Or I love it when people call me up and say, hey, would it be easier for me to get a country record deal than a pop record deal? I said, who wants a fraud? Who wants a fake? It's like we want an artist that's true to who they are. You know, if you're just trying to be an actor or an actress because you have talent, you will not have longevity in any of this. Does that make any sense?
I totally agree. You know, the whole thing for me about branding with an artist is like people aren't stupid. They can see through fake. And it's like when I'm talking to artists about this, it's like, you know what? Make a document, write down all of the words that you would describe yourself with. Write down all of the words that your friends and your family would describe you as. And if that happens to be miserable and shy, okay, then be miserable and shy. You know, that's your thing. I've been following Sasha Sloan a lot recently, who I just love Sasha Sloan to bits. And her Instagram handle is Sad Girl Sloan. And all of her posts are kind of like they're down key. They're not glamorous. It's just down key stuff. And, you know, alone in a hotel room going, these are my friends. And it's like a teddy bear on the bed or something. But it's all on brand. And that's what I love her music. And it's like, you know who she is and you know it's real. She's not going, you know what, I'm going to play somebody that's a bit miserable. You know, songs are quite melancholy. But, you know, she's embracing it. So I always say, you know, find out, you know, find out who you are, what's your identity, and be that, because nobody can be you better than you can.
And the other thing, too, when she was talking about professional photo shoots, now Instagram, too, is a video thing. I don't think you need professional photo shoots. I think we need to understand most people see things that are in their feed, okay? They don't really come to our page that often. They see what comes in their feed. If it looks too classy, their brain says sales. It's an advertisement. Someone's trying to sell me something. Make it look like it's something that would pop into someone's feed. That's the best way to stand out, but also to make sure that it's quality. She also asked, how do you set realist goals and follow through with them.
Oh yes, oh yes, she does. Big fun, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, Zoe, is everyone's different. There's a lot of great starters in life, very few finishers. I have been a starter of diets my whole life. Very seldom have I finished. Hopefully this time it's finished. The thing too is I think the goals, when you say realistically. So for example, I do a survey. I do this assessment when people come into my world. And one of the things that I'll ask them is, how much money did you make with your music last year? 70%, and this is consistent over the last 3 years, 70% of the people reaching out have made less than $5,000. Okay. So instead of setting a goal that I'd like to make $100,000 with my music this year, why don't we sit back and say, okay, where am I at with it right now? Okay. Why don't I try to do 10 times that? So if you made 100, let's say, let's do 1,000. If you did 1,000, then let's say, let's try to do 10,000. You can even go down to 5 if you want to be, but it's not hard to make 50 grand a year in the music industry, by the way, guys. Very easy. Next thing, I would like to put out an album this year. Great. How many songs have you written? Well, I haven't started writing songs yet. Well, then why don't we go backwards in that and say, you know what, this year I want to really become a better songwriter. Why are you wanting to put out an album when you haven't even written songs yet? So every person's different. So the goal is this. If you want to be a better songwriter, you need to write every day. If you want to be a better vocalist, you need to sing every day. If you want to be a better performer, you need to perform every day. I make it easy. Take 5 of your songs and every day play your set. Play it on Facebook. Then you just sang that day, played music that you wrote that day, performed in front of an audience. God, you have to do these things every single day. So, Zoe, this is a much longer conversation. It looks like you're the one asking all the questions, though. Looking down the row here, you need to make sure that they're realistic. What's realistic is saying, I want to get signed to a record deal. That's unrealistic. The math just doesn't work. Okay. I want to put out music. Realistic. Then you work backwards. So whatever you set your goal at, that's where you work backwards. I want to perform. Last year I played 10 shows. This year I want to play 20 shows. Great. My goal is to play 20 shows. How are you going to do that? Are you going to play twice at the 10 places you already played, or do you need to branch out in your region? So you may need to go out and start doing some research to see how far out you can go. So everything's different, but start at the goal and work backwards. Yeah,
I'd also like to add to this with goal setting is it's corporate psychobabble, but it's the SMART goals, which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-driven. And the specific thing for me is a real key. I mean, Rick has already talked about the, time-driven as in, by the end of this year, I want to have written this many songs or done this many gigs. Realistic, he's covered that as well. Attainable, for sure. But the specificity is really key, because sometimes I say to people, what do you want? And they go, I want to make it in music. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? Or they say, I want to make make a living from music. Well, how much is that? What do you want? Do you want £500 to cover your rent? Or do you want to live in a place that's costing you £5,000 a month? How much do you need to live on? So be really specific with your goals. And, if you're an artist and you want to be a successful artist that is singing, let's say that a non-specific goal would be, I want to be performing in stadiums next year. It's like, well, okay. But a specific one could be, I want to be performing, supporting an artist like Drake, for example. I want to support Drake at the O2 Arena in the UK by the year 2022. And I want to be wearing this, and I want to be playing this. And, this is what I'm going to look like. This is going to be the feel of my show. It's like paint the picture, visualize it like it's already happening, and that will give you the specificity, the specific nature of your goal, rather than just having something that's a little bit wishy-washy. Because it's like saying, next year I want to go on holiday somewhere in Europe. It's like, well, when? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What are the activities? What time of the year? Exactly what date do you want to go? Who do you want to go with? That's what you give a holiday company, You can't just go, I want to go somewhere in Europe next year. So think of it, treat it that seriously as well. That's all I have to say about that.
Yep. That's your Southern accent. I heard it.
So next, let's go to Don's question next, which is, I'm not a performer any longer. I'm writing and producing songs. My goal is to get my songs heard throughout the world and performed by great artists. What ideas can you share with me?
So, Don, I need you to type in what does great artist mean to you. There's a lot of great artists that none of you guys have ever heard of. Yeah. Getting your songs heard throughout the world, that's easy. Social media. You can run a Facebook ad. You could target 10 different countries. You could target fans of people that you think might like your music, and your music can get heard throughout the world. That's simple. Getting your songs performed by great artists, that's going to go into the networking phase of things. If you're talking about famous artists, that's different than the word great artist. Famous artists that you've already heard of, you're not going to get your songs to them, okay? Unless you have a publishing company that has a relationship with those producers and those record companies. That's the only way those songs are being pitched. So great artist, go on YouTube, type in the name of an artist doing a cover song. You're going to look and go, shit, they're great. And you're going to reach out to that artist, because most of the time what you're going to see is that they're doing nothing but cover songs. They don't have original material. So you're going to reach out to them in a comment or a message. Oh my gosh, love your page. I'm a songwriter. Do you ever look for outside collaborations? Absolutely. All they want is original material to try to be able to build an audience. Now you've got a great artist who's already built an audience, who already has a fan base, and now you get your songs heard. That's realistic. That's an approach that you want to go after versus I want, the Rolling Stones to hear my music and cut one of my songs. Not going to happen. Yeah. Sorry to be the baby killer, but.
No. Do you know what? I did exactly this yesterday. I found an artist. I just stumbled across an artist on Facebook or Insta, and I just fell in love with this girl's voice. And I messaged them saying, I love what you do. I'm a songwriter. I did exactly that thing. Because the whole thing is, we've got to find the next Ed Sheeran, the next Adele.
You can't get them after their Ed Sheeran.
No. Of course you can't.
There's a system in place for that, and we're not in that system.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you know what? It's like Ed Sheeran was playing 300 nights a year in, touring.
Yes,
300 nights a year until he got discovered. But somebody had the foresight to work with him that knew him. And so that's what you've got to do. Find the next big thing. Be in at ground level and work with them. Build a relationship, And when you do meet people that are good, don't just sort of say hi and then bye, because, you can't call them a year later when they've had a hit and say, hey, do you remember we met that night? Are you up for collaborating? Because they can smell the desperation on you through the phone line.
Yes.
Build a relationship. Keep the relationship nurtured.
Start with compliments without asking for anything. Oh my gosh, just saw that video. Absolutely loved it. And then share it. Because once they see that it was shared, you got to remember, and here's the strategy behind social, is all creatives are ego driven. So Amen. When they look and see, oh my gosh, who retweeted, and then that notification shows up that Rick Barker shared Martin Sutton's post, I'm now out of the noisy space over into a smaller space. And now when I'm in that, I'll use Twitter, for example, Twitter feed, it just flies by. Then all of a sudden there's a little bell with a little dot that says, oh, you're notified because somebody actually mentioned you. And it says, Rick Barker liked your thing. Rick Barker shared your thing. That's the next step of engagement. Then you go in and leave a comment and tell them how great they are. They all get their little feathers up and they're all happy now. Do that 2 or 3 times and then come in and say, by the way, man, once again, you nailed it. That song that you just covered, that actually inspired a song that I wrote. Do you ever look for outside material? Are you looking for original music? Are you ever looking to collaborate? But make it about them first. Too often we show up with what we need. We need to make it about them first. If you guys want to succeed in life, reciprocity is a great word for you guys to go research and utilize psychology and human behavior. If it makes your skin crawl, it will make their skin crawl. So if you're doing something that you would normally, if somebody did that, don't do it to somebody else. It's like we expect their reactions to be different. They're not. If it was slimy, it was slimy, so let's not be that person, and let's not jump in and tell them what we need. Tell them after you've told them how great they are, what you can provide to the relationship, not what you hope to get out of the relationship.
Yeah, great advice. Really great. Let's move down a little bit. Anonymous attendee, what if you don't want to be the artist, but you just want to write for the artist, i.e. like Bernie Taupin or Esther Dean?
You need to go find the artist. Bernie Taupin and Elton John met through the want ads. It was like a Craigslist at that particular time. I'm from the same hometown as Bernie Taupin. I've known Bernie for many, many years. And they never wrote a song in the same room together. So this internet thing would have killed it for them back then. So Bernie probably could have found 20 Elton Johns at that point had he had the internet, but before they had the local paper. So you need to go out and find the artist. Do your research. I'll use a real good example. If you're looking for the next Ed Sheeran, go on YouTube and type in Ed Sheeran covers. Find a list of these people that are doing Ed Sheeran covers, and then start doing your research. I say become a detective. Go find the kid that's showing up every day. Go find the work ethic. Here's the thing that I want all of you to understand. If you only take this from this conversation that we're having today, here's what you need to do. Bet on the jockey, not on the horse. The songs, you're the horse provider. Those are the horses. Every year, the Kentucky Derby has a new set of horses that come in. It hasn't stopped for 80 years, however long they've done it. But it's the same jockeys every year that show up work after work. Go find a work horse. Go find someone who's got work ethic. Go find someone who's showing up on their socials every day. Go find someone who's acting professional. Don't give your song and get involved in a relationship with someone who's lazy and waiting to be discovered. Because you can't just go give your song to 5 or 6 people and go, all right, whichever one of you gets it to go first gets to keep it. That's not the way the business works. Once you sit down with an artist and you put yourself into that day's gone. You better hope you're betting on the right jockey, not the horse. You'll create the horses, but go find yourself that person. So when you see somebody, I've made the biggest mistake as a manager of falling in love because I was so in love with the music that it blinded me of the person that I actually was investing in. I wasn't investing in the songs. I was invested in that artist as a manager. I've had artists that I got publishing deals, record deals, debuted on the Grand Ole Opry on their 16th birthday. 17th birthday, she became a typical teenage female, knew everything, and now she's 25 years old and she still never got to put out her album, or she had everything. You know what I mean? So really find the right jockey.
Yeah, great. Love that metaphor. Love it. Let's have a look at this question from Scott Ryder. Regarding radio programming, given the digital matrix and what seems like the same checklist requirements for most songs, making them sound similar, can you explain a little more in detail of the ins and outs of how current radio programming works?
Yes.
Let's do that one first.
Yeah, so my background is radio. I was a programmer for 15 years. Before I started at Big Machine Records, that's where Scott found me. He pulled me out of radio. Radio is the absolute worst place that you could try to build a business around trying to get your songs on radio. If it happens to happen, congratulations. It's very expensive. You are competing against the best songwriters in the world who are being paid every day by their publishing companies to write songs for these particular artists. They are not in a position to go out and try to find the next best songwriter. That's not radio's job. Radio's job is to play what's familiar. That's why what sucks is when you get added. If your song, let's say here, Scott, that your song was great and it got added to a radio station, you're going to get added into what's called light rotation. And what that means is that you're going to get played every night from midnight to 6 on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Okay, ask yourself this question. 1, when's the last time you listened to the radio between midnight and 6? If your audience are truck drivers, donut shop workers, crackheads, they're the only people up listening to the radio between midnight to 6. Everyone listens to music now on this. This is their radio. So your job should be to try to get it on as many of these. You're going to have to pay outside promoters. Then what's going to happen is the record company is going to say, okay, I've got two choices this week. I have this Scott guy that we've never heard of, but I like the song. And I have Martin Sutton, this artist over here who we've had success with in the past. Who do you think they're going to weigh towards? They're going to weigh towards Martin. It's no bad news because they have to play what's familiar. So don't go after the radio game. Radio programmers' job is not to lose their job. That's their goal every day, not to lose their job, because radio's being consolidated more. Because why? The only way they make money is through commercials. When's the last time you guys listened to radio commercials? Me either. It's going to get harder and harder. They're consolidating it down. Get on the playlist now. Those are the new programmers. Also, I could do a whole conversation on that. Don't get caught into that BS buying your way on playlists either. It doesn't do anything for you. Go out, get your fans, get your music up, let them download it to their phones. Current radio music in both pop and country have dramatically moved from a lyric base to a production base. Do you think it's moving back? I don't know. I don't know if it's moving back. Right now, it's like, work. What that's all the song says. You know what I mean? But that's what people wanted at the time. Country, it's all about production now. I think it goes back to what Martin said earlier. It's about the melodies, and actually this was off conversation. We were talking about it. What's going to get stuck in your head right away nowadays usually is the music. Then you'll get to the lyrics. It's almost like we don't even hear the lyrics now until the drop or whatever happens. So I just think what's happening is the songs that are on the radio right now are being written in both pop and country by very smart songwriters who've been able to adjust. They don't care if something goes back. They're writing to the future. If you're trying to write to what's popular today, you're not going to be relevant in 6 months from now. So the smart songwriters are writing to the future. That's just where the future took us at this particular time, is in production, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm always banging on about this. It's about, if you try and jump on the bandwagon of what's happening right now, you're 18 months behind. This music wasn't created 2 weeks ago.
Nope.
There's been a whole marketing campaigns, months and months of that. The production going back even further, and the initial writing, going back maybe 18 months. So it's like you're so passe if you try and do what's happening right now. You got to look around the corner and see what's going to be happening next. And I've said this so many times, and I was so proud with coming up with this expression, but the chance takers are the chart makers.
Right.
Do something different. Do something that nobody else is doing, because it may not happen in the next 6 months, but a year down the line, 2 years, you're going to have something that nobody is doing. Take chances with your music, with your writing, with your production. Be the leader. Be the Alanis Morissette angry young woman thing that everybody jumped on the bandwagon of. Be the Adele that everybody was trying to do the Adele thing.
Right.
There's so many sheep that are following what's happening. But it's always the chance takers that are the ones that set the way, and that will set you up. So look ahead of the curve. Look ahead of the curve.
And like I said, and don't try to write for radio. Honestly, it's like it's the most. I just spoke at 10 Pan South here in Nashville, National Songwriters Association International. I'm in there and I'm telling these guys, it's like, look, if you want, go get the tools are there for you to prove yourself. That's what you have to do nowadays. Okay. That's just it. It's like the games have changed. We can either sit here and complain about the way we wish things were, or we can deal with the way things are. I prefer to deal with the way things are. The way things are right now is you don't have to ask anyone's permission to put out your music. You don't have to ask anyone's permission, anything. You don't have to wait for my approval to go out and be an artist. You have the ability to do it. So if you want to know if your stuff's good enough, go find an audience, put it in front of them. They'll tell you. And if they don't tell you it's good enough, get your butt back to work. It's like too often is we try to put ourselves out there before we're ready. I don't know what the hurry is. We're not curing cancer. We will survive if your song does not get out tomorrow. Take the time. It's like we're the only industry where we just go, oh shit, I woke up this morning and I decided I want to be a songwriter. It's like my grandmother can put stuff on iTunes. Okay. Just because I wake up and feel that I want to do brain surgery, I should not start performing surgery tomorrow. Okay. It was just a thought or an idea. That's why it's so noisy out there, is because anyone can put it out there. The smart artist will take the time to master their craft. There are very few. I hear this all the time. Oh man, that's a great song. To who? Everyone. That's a great song. Oh my gosh, that's a hit. To who? Prove it. There are very few great songwriters, great singers, and great instrumentalists. So you don't have to be all three. Focus on where your strength is. If you can do the demo to get it to a good songwriter. Don asked a great question. When I put my songs out on YouTube, how do I make it clear that I'm seeking other artists to take my songs? You don't put them on YouTube if that's what your goal is. You reach out to those artists through comments, and then you send them, like what Martin mentioned earlier, a private SoundCloud link where they have access to hear these songs. But you don't put it out into the world and say, I'm looking for this, because that's not how it works. You go find the artist first, then you message them. Maybe if they were smart, in the description, they gave you a link to their website where you can go get a contact email, or you can direct message them now inside of Instagram. But don't post a video up on YouTube saying, hey, this song's for any artist that wants to cut it. I would recommend against that.
Yeah. So great. We've covered Scott's questions there, and also that last one from Don as well. So thanks for that. So let's have a look at Matt's question here. So I love using Instagram stories lately, but I'm having a hard time getting people to take action from IG stories. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes. So first thing, Matt, and this is where I wish we could have a physical conversation. Instagram stories. The great thing about Instagram stories, just so you guys know, and the reason that I'm such a huge fan of it and I like it, is because whenever someone is on Instagram stories, along your top of your Instagram screen, it's a red circle. So it's Instagram wants people to know that you went on and did this. It also depends on what you're asking people to do, what the action is. So I have the ability, because I'm verified and have over 10,000 followers, where we can do the swipe up feature. So so I can say, hey, if you want a free copy of my book, just swipe up, and they swipe up. If I don't have the swipe up feature, we have to give them some form of value that they want to do. If you're asking people to like something, they may not be there in the relationship yet. If you're asking them, that's why I do not recommend putting full-length videos in the beginning on Facebook and saying, hey, watch my video and tell me what you think. It's like, dude, I don't know you yet. That's 3.5 minutes of my time. If you're a good songwriter. If you're a bad songwriter, it's 4.5 minutes, because you don't know timing. So you're asking for 4.5 minutes of my time, and you're asking for an action. It's really hard. The best thing, Matt, with Instagram stories right now is go live. And here's the trick. And I share this in my video, and I'll make sure you guys know how to get a hold of this, is when you go live, then everybody else that gets notified, you can bring somebody on live with you. And now their followers get notified that you're live. So basically, you've created an instant lookalike audience on Instagram Live. So here's an example of what I did. So I have this book. It's called The $150,000 Music Degree. With this book, I went 3 nights, and we did this as a test. Now I'm going to teach you guys business, and I'm going to share my whole model with you real quick. So I bought a whole bunch of these books. So what I did was I went on, and for 3 nights, I did live Q&A, sat by the fire, smoked cigar, answered questions just like we're doing right now, brought people on. They would get notified. I ended up bringing on this hip-hop dude. So his audience gets notified. Then everybody's like, dude, there's this guy online answering music questions. He used to manage Taylor Swift. All of a sudden, the numbers just kept showing up. So Monday night, went on live, did nothing but answer people's questions. Tuesday night, went on live, did nothing but answer people's questions. I'd get cut off at an hour. I'd sign back on because Instagram will cut you off after an hour. Did it again. Third night, did it again and said, hey, by the way, guys, and I said, I got this box of books. I've already paid for the book. If you'll pick up the cost of the shipping, I'd be more than happy to sign it, send it off your way. Some of you, man, I'll even give a phone call, say thank you. I sold over 100 books in 48 hours. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In that, it's called an upsell. So in that, it said, hey, if you like the book, that's great. But I can't go in and write a new chapter in the book every time something changes in the industry, but I've created this opportunity. It's called the Fan Base Blueprint. And I walked people through what was in the Fan Base Blueprint, blank, 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 blank. Gave them an offer to pick it up. Some took the offer, some didn't. Those that took that offer, I even gave them another opportunity and said, hey, you thought that was cool. How would you like to have me on your team? Here's this coaching, blah, 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 blah. Through that whole entire process, they knew what the coaching was because that's what I'd been doing for the 3 days prior to that. So when everyone was coming to me going, oh my gosh, you've had so many people convert and want your coaching. I said, yeah, because I loved on them for 3 days. So think about this. You record music. Then you put a t-shirt together. Then you have this bundle. So you say, hey guys, you go on and you play songs one night on Instagram, 2 nights on Instagram, and say, you know what? Those songs that I've been sharing with you guys, they're actually part of this project that I created. I've already got the CDs. Why don't, if you pick up the shipping, I'll go ahead and sign it and send it off to you. So now you just want to get it to a break even, because with shipping and handling right now, I sell the books. It's $471 US, $971 international. Some countries I'll take a hit on because it's better, but most of the time I'm able to cover everything the way that it happens. So then when they commit to that, you've already got their credit card information. That's the hardest part of this game anyway, is getting them to buy the first time. Then the next thing you're able to do is say, okay, great. By the way, I have this cool bracelet that we made, and it's called an order bump. You do a little bump for $6. Guess what? That bracelet cost you $0.25. You just made $6. Now you've covered your cost of your disc. Now you've made money. Now you've built a relationship. And then on the next page, you offer him these 3 t-shirts that you had done, and you start moving along. But it all starts with giving value on the front end. So that's what you need to do to get your Instagram stories and your Facebook lives and everything, is to give value. Dawn Beyer, brilliant, and I use her as a case study, is this girl will go on and she'll put a virtual tip jar. She'll show up in the morning. It's called Coffee and Country. Half the time she's confused. She's left-handed in the morning and she's right-handed in the afternoon because she didn't do the mirror flip because she was tired, but she gives people a chance to show appreciation. On Broadway in Nashville, people are paying 4 hours for tips. So she's like, heck, why not I try to do the tip thing on the internet and do it for the world? Now she travels the world, makes almost $200,000 a year doing, she just did a whole house concert tour through Europe, making $2,500 a night, and her fans flew her to be there. It's like there's so many ways to get your music out there and to start making a living with this thing. But once again, it all starts with the songs. You get the songs right. I always tell you guys go create it. I'll teach you how to get rid of it. I'll help you find an audience. I told Martin earlier, my goal, when people ask me, Rick, what's the goal for you? I said, my goal is to affect millions of people all over the world with songs I didn't write and songs I didn't perform. That's not my strength. My strength is getting you to get it out into the world. So that's where I win.
Amen to that. Yeah, fantastic. And it's so key that people understand that it's not, as you know, as a songwriter, even just as a songwriter, it's not just about getting your songs to an artist, because that's, you know, as if that's the only revenue stream that there is. You know, you were talking about getting a quote from a song. Let's say you've got a quote in a song that just sounds beautiful, and you know, putting it up on Insta and having people sharing that. It's like you can turn it into merch. You can have it on a mug. You can have it on a T-shirt.
Yes, you can.
Love the expression, you know, then do that. So many ways to make money out of the music business, and it's an entirely different model to what it used to be when you and I were young men. All that, you know, just after the Boer War, it was an entirely different model then. But it's the most exciting time to be in the business now, I think.
Well, it is, because the barrier of entry is down. The cost of entry is down. It used to be so expensive to record. It used to be that the only way you could get your songs into stores was by having a relationship with the distributor. It used to be that the only way you could get to the labels was by having a high-powered manager. It used to, you know, that's just not the game anymore. It's really not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exciting times. Okay, so another question here from Zoe. If you're working towards a deadline for your songs, how do you stop yourself from settling?
I want to know who's putting the deadline on you. You know, it's like, and also too, a lot of this stuff, Zoe, is not everyone's wired the same. You know, I could tell you how I would do it, but you're not wired like me. You know, it's like, how much does it matter? If you're on a deadline, then you need to eliminate all distractions in your life and focus on that deadline. If there is a music supervisor that's waiting for your song and I have to motivate you to get it done, you're the wrong person for this business. We should not have to motivate you to complete what's holding you back from getting to that next level. So a lot of this stuff, you guys may want to go seek therapy and say, hey, my whole life, I haven't been able to finish anything. Doc, help me. You know, it's like.
Well, it's an interesting thing, the whole deadline thing. You know, I've been on, I mean, one example I can think of is I was in Berlin writing for it was on a writing camp for the winner of The Voice. And, you know, they had the suspects for the winners of The Voice. And so 5 teams of 3 writers, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're put in a studio. 9 o'clock that evening, we have to play back to the head of Sony Germany a completed, written, demoed song, complete production on the thing. So there's a deadline that you have to do. And I'll tell you what, the interesting thing about it is that the brain just automatically works faster when it's a deadline like that. It makes you do it. The more deadline you give yourself, let's say you say, oh, well, you know, I've got 3 days to do this. You will take the whole 3 days and go right up to the last moment of that deadline to do it. If you give yourself a week, exactly the same task, you will take 5 days. No matter how many lanes they build on the M25, they will still fill up with cars. Yes. You know, and it's exactly the same thing. So, you know, if it's a deadline that somebody else has set, that you have to do it by a certain amount of time, then you focus. Right. And you think about how important that is. How important is it that I get this gig? And if you don't want it enough, then you will settle.
But self-imposed are the hardest. They really are. I mean, like I said, I put my big 3 up every day and something carries over to the next day. You know, but what's funny is that I've been having to re-record this video. I have an on-demand training for social media because people come to me from all over the world. I can't do live at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, so I have this on-demand training and I update it every week. I have to have a release schedule set. If I want to put a deadline on something, I say, okay, I go ahead and I schedule a live webinar on Monday so that I can take that recording and use it in my on-demand replay. So all of us, like I said, we're wired different with that. Zoe, is Zoe in your coaching program?
Yes, she is. Yeah.
She's got great questions, by the way. And she's totally taking advantage of this opportunity with you right now, which I think is so brilliant.
Yeah, totally agree. There was a lovely quote, by the way, from Gerald Durrell, who wrote My Family and Other Animals. It was Richard Adams that wrote Watership Down. That was it. Richard Adams, I think, who said, I love deadlines. He says, I love the sound as they whoosh past.
Well, and 2, guys, the ultimate deadline's death, you know, so let's just get this stuff accomplished because at that point, then we're screwed, you know. So right now, the thing, too, is that we're trying to function in a dysfunctional business because our rewards are not in direct proportion to the work that we put in. And that's very hard for some people to understand. You know, if you're doing it for the right reasons, just keep at it. You know, it's like that's the key to all of this. It's like the only one. It's like sometimes we have to get realistic and go, okay, you know what? Maybe it's just a hobby, and that's okay. You know, because if you're getting to do what it is that you love to do, it's like I tell people, if you could make $50,000 a year doing what it is that you love doing, and that's what your passion is, you make more than a lot of nurses, than a lot of first-year law students, a lot of first-year doctors. The majority of the world doesn't make $40,000 a year. If you can do 50 doing what you love to do, be okay with that. You know, be okay with that. And if you need Prada, then you need to go double your fans or put out twice as much music, something. But, you know, have realistic goals, set realistic expectations. That's the key in all of this, I think, is just kind of know where we're at. You know, it's like right now, it's like, so I've lost 23 pounds in the last 29 days. And what happened is that I was trying to work out and eat healthy. Do you guys know in order to lose weight, you cannot do both at the same exact time? You have to be, because you can't eat enough calories to support the heavy working out. That's why you see a lot of fat people at the gym, or a lot of fat joggers, or a lot of fat cyclists. So it was until I was in the right frame of mind for somebody to come to me and say, look, here's what I need you to do. Drink a gallon of water every day, sleep at least 8 hours, and no exercise. I'm like, excuse me? You know, they're like, sleep, drink, and this. And then we're going to put you on, you're going to eat meat, vegetables, this type of fruit. You're going to do this for 30 days. Is it worth it to you? Absolutely. Boom, boom, boom. It kind of came off. So now that I've got that first part tackled, now I go after the next 20. I didn't go, damn it, I need to lose 80 pounds. I said, no, I just want to lose. The program was called 20-30 Fast Track. I said, if I can lose 20 pounds in 30 days, I'm willing to give up creamer in my coffee in the morning. What's more important, the taste of that creamer or not being able to play with my kids? What's more important, the creamer or the kids? So if I don't start my day with this, that's the same thing with you guys. It's like we just have to find out what's important to us. We have to do it in bite-sized chunks. It's like if you want to write a record, start with a song. It's like, I want to write 5 songs. Great. Let's start with the first one. Let's get that done. Then what's important, make sure that someone you trust. That's why I love the fact that you guys are in Martin's program. Let him hear the songs, or if they do critiques, before you go in the studio and pay for all that production.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I told you, that's my rule. I don't listen to it because, one, I know I'm going to break their heart when I say what I would have changed, but also, two, be careful how many different industry opinions you get, because they're all different and it'll confuse the crap out of you. Find your mentor. Find your trusted source. Don't just keep trying until you get the person to agree with what it is that you want to hear, because then you may still be putting out a sucky record, and a lot of you do that. Find a trusted source and let that person give you that critique. I have a kid sent me a song before it's mastered because he knows those my rules, and I get to tell him he needs to work on his vocals. I can't tell him he needs to go fix his vocals after he's already spent all the money getting them mixed, mastered, and everything after that. So find somebody that you trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Find your champion. I'd like you all, please, to raise your hands and thank Rick Barker for being here this evening for you guys. What an absolute fountain of knowledge and experience, and it's been a real pleasure having you on, Rick. And
I've loved it. You've played such a huge part in my program as well. I'm going to go ahead and put in here, if you guys just go to www.ricksfreebook.com, you can get a digital copy, you can get a physical copy, you can go through the whole little thing that I just told you. But no, I love this. What's funny with you guys is how I found Martin is I was looking for someone who's had current success that could teach people how to write. Even living in Nashville, there's a lot of great writers, but very few are also good teachers. They're usually introverts. They're weird to be around. I just could not find someone until I met Martin. And then I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. It's like, here's somebody who has success, both past and current, but can also teach. You don't know how lucky you are to have someone who can actually teach you what it is to do. And that's what I tell people. It's like, I said, I sucked as a manager. I really did. I called bullshit way too easy at the label meetings. You know, it's like there were so many things that were out of my control. I'm a much better teacher. I'm a much better coach. And that's what most people need, is they need a coach. They need guidance.
And you are fabulous.
I do my programs, and I offer group coaching and private coaching just to be able to help those folks. But being a manager, I tell people, because they always say, hey, can we be my manager? I said, I suck as a manager. I really do. But if you want advice and you want somebody to help you create a game plan, I can help you.
Yeah. Well, I've been so impressed with Rick that I'm going to be going over to Nashville in June and hanging out. And so really looking forward to seeing you in person, shaking your hand, mate. And
anytime. And guys, listen, if you have further questions, like I said, you'll be able to get there. Some of you, like I said, Zoe, Dawn, you know, all of you were some great stuff. But if there was something that you still missed on, it's real easy to hit me up, and I'll be more than happy to write you back an answer. So
Amazing. Thanks again, Rick, and let's speak soon as well. Okay, man?
We will. Yes, we will.
Excellent. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Take care now.